welcome back to my channel and welcome to Junk Journal July. It's finally here. I am so excited for this month. It's going to be such a creative and inspiring time, and if you haven't got your journal ready yet, it's not too late. You can still join us and it's going to be so much fun. We have our daily prompts that are happening throughout the month, which I will pop here on the screen in case you haven't seen them, and all the information will be linked down below if you want to join us. And we've also got a collaboration going on throughout the month. So me and 29 other creators will be posting videos each day to inspire you and to share how we're doing our takes on the different prompts. So if you're feeling a little bit stuck on one of the prompts, or you just want to journal along with us, then there will be a new video each day, and the playlist will be linked down below, and that will update each day. We've got such an amazing group of creatives, and I am so excited to see what everybody has created. I am here to do day one, which is Spark, and I thought I would chat to you a little bit first just about how I've gone about interpreting the prompt, because sometimes it can feel a bit daunting, especially with a one-word prompt, that maybe it's too open and you're not quite sure where to start with the prompts. So one thing I do like to do, especially with having the spark prompt in mind, because to me I was thinking about like a creative spark and that kind of inspiration, is to, if you have any older journals, to dig them out and see how you can get inspired by your own work. Sometimes I just like to go through and just have a look at some of the pages that I have done and think about even like the smallest things that I might want to pick out. So for example, if I had a page like this, I might be like, okay, well, I really enjoy the layering that I did, and that's something that I want to take further. Maybe it's just the cut out words, for example. So not necessarily copying the page again and again, but just thinking about the small elements that you can take. So for example, this is quite a neutral page. So maybe you'll think, okay, well, I want to take that color scheme that I've done and see how I can do like a different composition. So I just love to look through my older journals as a starting point to inspire me and think about what like techniques that I want to try, or themes that I have enjoyed working with previously. Like for example, I really enjoy the coffee and the paint here, so maybe that's something that I want to pull through into one of my pages. So it's just a way that you can get started by just sort of looking through and seeing if there's anything that, even if you don't necessarily think it's your favorite page, maybe it's something you want to improve or see how you can explore the idea further. So I really loved, a couple of years ago, I did this sort of fold out page here. So, you know, that's something that might spark another idea. Like, what if you did this, but you just used like translucent like tissue paper or tracing paper, for example. So the same sort of concept, but you're doing it in like a new approach, and that can spark then a new idea. So that is just something that I like to do initially with a prompt, especially if I'm feeling a little bit lost and not sure what I want to do. And the lovely folks at Get Messy are also here to cheer you on through this July challenge, and they'll be sharing your pages if you share them over on Instagram. But the party pack that we put together that had some printables from Get Messy and information about the challenge, it also had a bit of a prompt like brainstorming sheet here that I've put together for you. So if you want to grab a copy, I will leave the link down below if you want to print this out. And I just thought that this would be really helpful for having a bit of a starting point, especially if you're feeling a little bit stuck. So what you can do is just write down the prompt that you're going to use. So in this case, we are doing spark. So I will just write spark at the top here. Doesn't have to be fancy, but I have used my brush pen. And then I've just got a few questions where you can just sort of jot down and make some notes if you want to plan the types of things that you might do for this page. So for me, for spark, the first thing that I thought of was match, or like a firework. So it's helpful to just sort of write down all the different words that you think of and almost play a little bit of like word association. It makes me think of fire and of like starting, maybe even sort of a bit of a glitter almost when you think of a spark, electricity, etc. And you could go on. And then what the next question does is forces you to kind of turn it on its head and think in different ways. So the thing that I enjoy about the one word prompts is that they are really open to interpretation and you can take them anywhere you want. And one of the things that I really enjoy actually when seeing everyone's pages on YouTube or on Instagram is that even from just the one word, there are so many different ways that you can interpret the prompt. And sometimes I think, wow, like I would never have thought to do like a certain page or use a certain material for that prompt, and it turns out so well. So the thing you can do is to think about different ways that you might interpret spark. So, you know, another way might be the road of, you know, the creative spark. So it's like inspiration, as a creative spark, etc. And you can just sort of list different ways that you might interpret that prompt. You could also look up the dictionary definition. So the first part of the definition for spark is about a small fiery particle thrown off from a fire. But the second part is also a small amount of quality or an intense feeling. So I like the intense feeling, and you know, that's something that you could potentially explore with a prompt like this, because it's a lot more open than some of the more literal prompts that we have throughout the challenge. I've kind of tried to do a bit of a mix of different prompts. And then if you are wanting to take it further, you could think about if it reminds you of anything like personal experiences or memories or, you know, different emotions. So with spark and fireworks, you know, you might want to go down, if you're in England, like the bonfire night kind of route, thinking about any like firework displays that you've been to. I know it's not the time of year for those, with it being summer here. And then the fourth question is about colours, textures and symbols. So we are starting to take the prompt from an idea and thinking about how we can start translating it into things that we can use on our page. So thinking about the colours or the imagery that we might use. So for this, I'm thinking golds, red, orange, maybe even yellow, because it's like fire colours. And then in terms of textures, spark, I'm really thinking like glittery or shiny, things that will reflect. And then symbols. So when you think of spark and fire and ashes, you know, you might even think of phoenix or maybe like rising from the ashes, that kind of motif. So there's different ways that you can interpret the prompt for that. And then lastly, can you use a specific technique or style to interpret the prompt or incorporate any found objects? So for this one, you might have a old matchbox. I might want to use that. And obviously making sure it's safe. So you might want to take off the bit that's actually going to cause the fire, but in place of that you could use sandpaper, for example, to create that matchbox effect. That could even lead into, I'm thinking like a pocket or something that you could tuck things into by having a matchbox on the page itself. And then something coming out of that for the spark of the idea. But I'm also really leaning towards using gold shimmery paints and doing sort of a splatter effect on top of all my collage and having that spark go across the page. That's just some different ways that you can start to think about the different prompts. So obviously you don't have to do this for every day, but if it's helpful for you just to think through the different ways that you might interpret the prompt, you could, just sit down literally for a couple of minutes before you do your prompt and just jot down, and then you've got a list then of the different ephemera pieces that you might want to pick out for the prompt. So that's how I'm going to approach the prompt of Spark. So let's get into the actual journal page. So for this first prompt, I'm working just on one side of the page, just the left-hand side, and I think I might just switch up whether I'm going to do a double page spread or whether I'm just going to work on one side, because I like the idea of some of the pages kind of running throughout, given that it's the concertina style journal. So you'll see I had my collection there of my different scrap papers, and I went through a process when I was picking those out of my stash to just think of the things that sparked joy. So a little bit like Marie Kondo in terms of going through my papers, but I was literally just thinking, what colours do I like? What textures do I like? And starting to use that as a background, because I didn't cover the entire of the inner cover of this journal when I made it. So I knew there were areas that I still wanted to cover up. So for example, on the left hand corner there at the top, you can see the barcode, which obviously I wanted to cover. So I'm just starting to build up this page by adding the smaller bits of collage, and I think that works really well with this no-sew style where you have the larger pieces, and then I'm able to start working smaller with these different elements of collage, overlapping things and fitting things together. It's a little bit like a jigsaw puzzle, trying to piece everything together and thinking about how I can have a plainer piece, for example, next to a patterned piece. And I think this helps sometimes to stop the page becoming so busy. If you've got loads of different patterned pieces of paper all together, there's nothing there visually to break it up. So by using some of the plainer papers like a tea-dyed paper, or even something a little bit calmer, like a grid paper, for example, just gives that breathing space, I think, within my layouts and especially my backgrounds, so that I'm still able to then work on top of them. So I am just building this up piece by piece, as you'll see here, tearing the edges. I like to have that organic feel to them. And then this is some brown paper that I had previously collaged on. I did a video going through how I upcycled all of the brown paper packaging that I collect, which if you are a junk journaler too, then I'm sure you can relate to how much of the packaging and papers that we keep to be able to use in our journals. So this was a piece that I had already worked on. So as you can see, there's bits of paint, bits of paper, and then I'd also done some hand stitching onto it, which I think worked really nicely. And it was nice to be able to just tear this and already have the stitched element on this page. And I love using that as a little detail on my page, but having that ready, as I was doing it, I was thinking I actually need to, when I'm in the mood for doing some stitching, is to do lots of clusters all over a piece of paper or something, and then I've got ready-made little stitch collages ready to go that I can just add into my pages. So yeah, as I was doing that, I was like, oh, that's a revelation that I can have something like that prepped to go. Plus then I don't have to sew into the reverse of this page, which was really helpful for this journal, because you will see it on the other side of the page, but also because this was the cover, and as much as I really like stitch details, I didn't really want that on my cover of my journal that I'd already decorated. So once I was happy with all of the papers that I'd added to the page, I then came in with some white acrylic paint, and I really love adding this because it helps to bring everything together and makes it into more of a cohesive background. But there's also some fun things you can do with it. So for example, here you can see me going around the edge of the sort of floral that I had in there, and that creates the depth within the page, so they feel a little bit more further forward. I think I do end up covering them slightly with paint, but I did really enjoy the way that then brought that to the foreground a little bit more. And I also love the way that it looks on the craft paper as well. So it just helps everything to not look so stark, helps it to all melt together almost. And then I couldn't resist, I did add some splotchy marks there with the white acrylic paint as well. And then once that had dried, I came in with some coffee and added that just to add that vintage vibe that I like. It was feeling a little bit too stark, so I wanted to help to soften it, and I also carried it across into the next page just to have that sort of running throughout this journal and adding those areas of interest. So you can see I'm adding more in certain areas so that it creates ever so slightly darker little patches.
Hello, Ramona. I can't shake the simplest feeling beyond the ghost. We stand on the opposite shore. Hello, Ramona. I reach through mysterious ceilings, my only hope. I look for the things I don't know. I stand alone. Show me where the ending goes. Honestly don't. I should be the last to know. We're all in this. I stand alone. Show me where the ending goes. Honestly don't. I should be the last to know. Hello, Ramona. I mistook you for a dream. The engine glows, and I guess you always seem to know. Hello, Ramona. I push back the serious feeling. The end's unknown. To get back the life I used to know. I stand alone. Show me where the ending goes. Honestly don't. I should be the last to know. We're all in this. I stand alone. Show me where the ending goes. Honestly don't. I should be the last to know.
I had these words cut out already and I thought that they would be perfect for this page. They just say a few things to do first, which kind of goes back to that whole starting spark, and also is just perfect for the first page of a journal, I think. So I ended up using a little manila tag here to add my words onto to help anchor them to something and make them pop a little bit more and have it be a focal point. So I just glued those on with my Pritt Stick glue stick, and I added them sort of towards the top a little bit because there were areas of collage that I didn't want to cover up, even though I know it was just a background. But yeah, I wanted to make sure that those things didn't get hidden by anything else that I was adding to the page. And now it's finally time for the sparkles. So I used this gold paint here and a tiny little brush to splatter the paint onto my page. And it's really quite subtle, but I really like it, and when it catches the light it looks so pretty. So that is my page for day one of Spark. I hope you enjoyed journaling along with me. Don't forget to follow along with the collaboration throughout the month of July, and I hope you enjoy joining in with this junk journaling challenge.